Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mrs. Rich?
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher?
Here.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Here.
Mr. Parzak?
Here.
The meeting is now open. Adequate notice of the meeting was provided by posting a copy of the time and place on the municipal clerk's bulletin board and mailing a copy of same to the press and the Cape May County Herald on January 6th, 2018. Will everyone please rise to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, totally forgot the Piermont update. So first on the agenda is, on the work session agenda, is an update on the Piermont project, which, looking for my notes, which are not really necessary, but just myself, the administrator, and Charles met with members of ACE last week at their request, and they wanted to give us an update on the Piermont project. So what they're telling us, and Jill, jump in, correct me if I'm wrong, is they are slated to begin their work roughly March 1st through April 30th. And if you will remember, the Phase 2 of the Piermont project that initially was going to be coming down First Avenue and was switched to coming down along the steel poles on Second Avenue, that still remains the plan. And in addition to that, they'll be doing the additional reclosures throughout town, which initially there was going to be approximately 20 additional reclosures put up. Now there's going to be about 14. So that work, I can't remember when that work is to begin. Do you guys remember?
I think it's.
They're beginning
right
it
in the
now?
right in the middle is after, I think after they establish all the not new poles, replacement poles, where I think that was the key. We asked that question several times, several different ways. There's no new poles, only replacement poles.
And they're
wood-
wooden
wood
poles with the height being 55 feet. But they will be wooden, they will not be steel. The reclosures, if you remember when we talked about them a couple of months ago, maybe it's been, I don't know, maybe 2 months where we talked about them, where they are devices that are on some poles already, and it is a way for the electric company to shut down certain areas and keep other areas on, so it minimizes the amount of people who lose power during any given incident, be it a pole gets hit by lightning, be it a motor vehicle accident, through storm surges, something to that effect. They are cognizant of what they look like and what they'll look like to property owners, and they're trying to minimize that look wherever they can. Anything else that I'm forgetting?
I think just with the recirc installment, I think they said the maximum outage we should suffer from any one event at any given time would be 400 households, scaled down from perhaps, the whole island. So it's a huge benefit.
Any questions?
I have a question about the height of the poles. They're 55 feet. Have they told you do you know what the current pole's height is? So that,
45?
so there will,
They're going to be taller, but they're not going to be 70 feet. But they will be 55, they'll be approximately 10 feet higher. And along the way, any old equipment that they come upon along the way, they're going to be upgrading. They're going to take advantage of upgrading anything. They said some of this equipment out there is close to 40, 50 years old, and they will be replacing things along the way.
The only other thing noteworthy and somewhat unrelated is they did make mention of their app, which is downloadable, and they asked that we ask the public, or disseminate as best we can, that people notify, even if there's no outage, if there's a problem or flickering or anything, it might be the sign of old faulty equipment. They said, please download the app, and it's real user-friendly, but you can basically key in real quick where your problem is, And even if it's not a major problem, it's worth reporting because it gives them more information to rectify any future trouble that may, result as a domino effect, if you will. So they
Yeah, and with
encouraged
their- right.
people to use the app and stay in touch with them on any problem, no matter how.
They said, don't assume that it's been reported.
Right,
They want the individual data.
Right, and that data will help them moving forward. They can tell if a certain area has been out more frequently than others, and that tells them that there's a
Needs an
true
upgrade, right.
problem there. So it is crucial to let them know of any issues.
Anything else? Questions from council? So moving on, we will go to budgets, starting with public safety.
First one up to be court.
We don't have it. Up there.
Debbie, you want to come up to court? Yeah, I gotta make sure my mouse works. Yeah, I know how my different bits feel. You see it?
So before we get started, I did just realize I forgot to add that with the meeting with Atlantic City Electric, we did have the borough engineer, we also had the planning board engineer. So they would be apprised of any actual hardware changes and also for the planning board engineer to keep it in mind moving forward with the master plan. Realize I forgot to say they were there as well.
No. Oh, I know. There we go. Okay, sorry, Deb.
No problem.
Let me get to the top. Okay, you're up, go.
There's not a change over the past couple years. I want to keep my budget at the 16,000, and the reason for that is I never know what's going to happen, whether I have to have new tickets printed, more interpreters throughout the year. Like my last court, I had to have an Italian interpreter and a Spanish interpreter here. And they do not charge the same amount of money. So if anybody has any question about my line items, like I said, you can see that I'm trying to keep it all the same as it's been in the past couple years.
It's fine. It's all good.
Any questions?
Thanks, Deb.
Have a good holiday, everybody, because I probably won't be seeing you before Christmas.
Thank you for our treats.
Oh, you're welcome. Enjoy.
Okay, next up is Uniform Fire Code Official. Roger?
Got my glasses. Is that up there?
Yeah.
Yep, you're there. Okay.
The only change to the Uniform Fire Code budget from the previous year is we added some money in for computer updates, I think.
Yes,
We are
Roger.
anticipating in the capital budget purchasing a new computerized software system that will, for our inspections. We are currently using a system that's over 20 years old. Our new system will have the ability for us to do inspections using tablets and to try and avoid some paper. We'll be able to email violation notices, billing, and there was money in the budget for the annual fee, which I think we left in there. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
Otherwise, the budget is flat from the previous year.
Okay. Next is Volunteer Fire Company.
Fire budget, again, is flat except for the addition. We've added, I think, $5,000 to our vehicle repair budget. We have found that there's less and less that Public Works is able to do on our fire trucks. So we are required to bring in an outside vendor for that. So that's what the only addition to the budget is the $5,000 for the additional work that needs to be done on our trucks.
Aid to rescue?
Rescue Squad has remained the same, it's flat, it's $70,000. This is the money that's given to the Rescue Squad for what is termed aid. It is the money that the Rescue Squad uses to pay the 2 personnel for the daytime response EMS. It is the most that's allowed by law. It's, again, it's been the same for many, many, many years.
All right, that's everything for you, right?
Are we doing reports later?
If you want to give your report while you're there, you might as well.
Okay.
Save time.
The report for the fire department and EMS for the month of November. We had 23 fire calls. That was up from the previous year. Our total for the year is 263, which is up from the previous year at this time of 234, so it's been a busier year. Our EMS calls, we had 40 for the month, which is up. We are slightly below last year's total at this time. The calls included 3 building fires, 2 cooking fires, 1 motor vehicle accident, 1 water rescue, 6 natural gas leaks, 2 cover assignments, and 8 fire alarms. That is my report.
Thank you.
Good luck, Joan, in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Okay, next up, police.
Good afternoon. So, unfortunately for us, unlike the fire department and the court, we did not stay flat. We have gone up between 10 and 11% on our budget for this year. I understand that seems like an awful lot of money. However, historically, if I can just explain, since 2011, our budget has either steadily gone down or stayed flat at the request of, you guys, and, we're trying to stay cooperative and, fiscally responsible. In 2011, it went down 3%, thereabouts. In 2012, 3%. 2013, it stayed flat. 2014, it went down 6%. 15, it stayed flat. 16, it stayed flat. 17, it did go up 2%, but that was due to the collective bargaining agreement, which increased the uniform allotment. That's nice, but for the overall police budget, that doesn't help us in terms of operating. It helps the officers, it does not assist us. So, in essence, 2017 stayed flat, and 2018 stayed flat. The purpose or reason for these current increases is in 2019, we will be mandated to get a new live scan fingerprint machine, and the annual service contract with that machine will go up $700 about from where we are currently right now with our current live scan machine. This is the biggest one, also under item 209, the WatchGuard video, the MVR, which is the mobile video recorder in the cars, and BWC stands for body-worn cameras, the software maintenance warranty. We purchased these units, the 14 units, several years ago, and they were covered up till now. As of next year, we will have to start covering them on our own, and that's an increase of about $5,000. So that's the biggest one. The other, in line item 212, I'm requesting an additional $500 for equipment, basically for the no parking signs, which due to the construction, the amount of events that have steadily been increasing over the years, we blow through no parking signs like it's going out of style. Not only when the event occurs, we post them. If the inclement weather comes, rains them out, we have to take them down. We basically sometimes do it 2 and 3 times prior to the event, which is a complete waste, but it's necessary. They have to be posted a certain number of hours prior to the event, and if they get destroyed prior to the event, we have to repost them, sometimes several times. The next one you could see, number 234, that's ammunition. I request about $2,000 to increase that due to the rifle ammunition that we need to go through. And lastly, number 237 is psychs and physical exams. We have mandatory drug testing now for all applicants before they go to the academy, which is about $700, based on the number of people we bring in part-time every year. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions? Please?
No questions. I was just going to say the 5,000 relating to the maintenance of the software is, I think that's money well spent. And I think the addition of those cameras and, you look at what potential litigation costs are associated with, lawsuits these days. And that's like an insurance policy, having that
Exactly.
visibility and maintaining that.
I
So,
completely agree.
It's like
We were,
no-brainer.
in all honesty, we were kind of deathly afraid of the cameras here and there, because we'd never used them before. But in the end, everyone loves them, and we've used them several times to, refute some claims here and there, and they've been worth their weight in gold. They really have been great. We love them. If I may, just before I get out of here, I would be remiss if I didn't mention congratulations and thank you to Mrs. Kramer for her service to the borough as a council person since 2010. Mrs. Kramer's obvious passion for Stone Harbor is something I've admired her for many years. I've always respected her "you tell it like it is" type mindset and thoughtful input on various issues. It is quite apparent to me that your intentions were always in the best interest of the borough. While I will no longer see you on the dais at these meetings, I only hope you don't become a stranger to us, and want to let you know our door is always open to you. On behalf of the entire police department, I wish you nothing but the best in the future endeavors, and would like to express our sincere appreciation for your constant support of the Stone Harbor Police Department over your many years of service. Good luck. God bless.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Okay, next up, Beach Patrol.
Good afternoon. The OE budget the total is unchanged. Sometimes the different line items will move a little bit, mainly because they aren't large changes, but sometimes it's easier to buy things in larger quantities and not do smaller quantities every year, and then it costs more. So maybe we get more of the jackets one year, and then they don't cost as much per item, and then the next year we buy a bulk of medical supplies or whatever else we need. But it is the same. Does anyone have any questions about any of the lines, or what they mean, or what they're actually paying for? And that's my...
These budgets are, I thought this when we did it 2 weeks ago with Public Works and the other departments. The department heads know better than we up here on council what you need and what you don't need. I mean, you go through this budget process every year, and I think you all are diligent about putting together reasonable budgets. And that's what I kept thinking at the last meeting, that, I can't question, well, I can question, but how many car batteries does Grant need every year? Well, he knows how many car batteries he needs. And it's the same for all of these line items. These are everyday in and out expenses. How many reams of paper does the police department need? Maureen knows that, better than anybody up here does. So I think as long as, they always come in right around the same numbers, and we don't have anything left at the end of the year, or hardly anything, we could, I'm rambling now, but we could all sit down, and go line by line, and we could look, show me how many of these you have and how many of those you use. But I don't think there's anything to be gained by that other than ill will. So, no, I don't have any questions, Sandy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay, next up, OEM.
Good afternoon. Again, there are no changes in the budget. The bottom line is the same as it has been for the past several years. That's really it. Any specific questions?
Good job.
We're still keeping an eye on it. The only problem that we're looking at anticipating is the arrival will be during a full moon. But right now, they're calling for southeasterly winds as opposed to northeasterly. I have been in contact with Nick Pittman already. And I do have, if there is some time, I would like to show the members of council. I was at the coordinators meeting last week, and they did unveil the new flood inundation interactive map, which is designed for the public, to give them a better understanding of what inundation levels in their neighborhood will look like during storm events. So
Are you talking about the new, that's online now?
that's correct.
That's what I was gonna,
That-
Jill and I attended a meeting on Friday, and we were shown that by Frank Donato?
Yes.
What's his name?
It would have been Frank from Ocean
So,
City.
do you, if you're done your budget, you wanna give that,
Yeah, as soon as we're done, he wants to.
I already have it loaded up, so whenever you're ready.
Back up. We should have time to do that.
Okay.
Take a couple minutes to the others.
Okay. All right.
Hang
Thank
around.
you.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes public safety. The next one up would be recreation and tourism. Miranda did do a tentative budget before she left. I went back through and looked at the expenditures over the year, and I've tweaked a few things, but I do want to go over it with the new recreation director. We may tweak this a little bit. Right now, there is a slight increase from $48,710 to $49,840. But otherwise, most of the line items are pretty much the same. See some of the details in here. The biggest items are equipment purchases and uniforms and arts and crafts supplies and equipment rental and special event purchases. But like I said, I will go over this with the new director, and we may tweak this based on those conversations, but I just wanted to give you an idea of where we should be with that one.
Jill, has the new director been hired?
We're going into closed session, so hopefully soon.
Okay, thank you.
I remain very optimistic.
Good.
Sorry. Okay, the next one would be tourism, and there is a little heavier of an increase in here. And like I said, this is just based on me going through and looking at what we actually spent money on and where I think we will need to increase. I'm hoping after I go over in some detail, we can decrease this a little bit, but we are increasing the magnitude of our events every year. So it's not unreasonable to see an increase in that. But again, I will go over in detail with the new tourism director, soon to be hired.
Need to be hired.
The biggest one here is the promotional advertising, the actual special events, and the equipment rental. And I'll go real quick, go through. You can see some of these. One of the things that Miranda had put in was for the watercolor map for the business district. That is the map that we had done last year. I know we wanted to convert that, so she had put a fee in there. That's why I highlighted. That may, depending on our conversations within the committee, that may not happen. But everything else, Tuesdays at the Tower, they're all basically the standard stuff that we do. Again, here's the detail. July 4th, the barge, that was new last year. That's $18,000 for that. And the shack fence rentals, that's a big ticket item. That's, the majority of that is for the actual large tents that we have to rent. And then, next up, natural resources. This budget remains the same as last year. Just a little tweaking from moving funding from service contracts into the animal control budget, and that is because we've seen an increase in the amount of wild animals down at the point and in the sanctuary, and we did bring in a private company several times during the year, and that wasn't really funded, so I kind of had to take that money out of the admin budget. So I've tweaked this budget to have funding available for that. And, let's see, and the biggest one is to continue with the contract that we have with the Wetlands Institute to monitor and supervise, make recommendations on the point and at the bird sanctuary, and then the stewards program at the point for that. And everything else is pretty much the same. Maintenance plants at the sanctuary, herbicide for invasive plant management. And that's it. So that is everybody's budget presentation. JT, if you want to call up your program, unless anybody has any questions on this, I'm going to close this part down.
So again, one of the reasons why the county came up with this is to do a better job of getting out to the public what exactly we mean when we say move your cars to higher ground and things like that. So what this will allow, it should be able to do that's it. So what this will allow is our residents, tourist visitors, and whomever to log on to, just go on to Cape May County's website and pull up their actual address so they can get an idea. So it's real simple to navigate to. Over here you have emergency management. You click on this and you'll just scroll down to the bottom here. That's okay, Gary. No. This is where they have this here. So then you'll scroll down here to where it says Cape May County Tidal Flooding Awareness. I do want to discuss with them, I think that this should independently have maybe its own website because it can be a little bit tricky to navigate to if you don't know where you're going. But in the meantime, this is what we're looking at. So the first and foremost is the nicest feature, and this is something that we'll use in the Office of Emergency Management a lot. It's a tidal flooding dashboard, and what this does is it takes the flood gauges that are located in Cape May County, and it creates just that. It creates a dashboard. So there are two gauges that actually have flood prediction, and if the one that's located in Cape May Harbor and one in Ocean City, and then we also have the flooding stages here. Cape May Harbor, you have one here. Sea Isle, Stone Harbor, and of course, this is Avalon, and then there's Sea Isle. Those aren't what they call predictor stations. They don't actually predict what the flooding is going to look like. But it's ironically, if you look here, you can see the storm that the mayor was speaking of. You can see here's already the current predictions for Cape May Harbor. So what will happen is residents or any user will be able to go and they'll be able to look at these numbers, and then what they can do is they can come over here and go to what will the flood look like. There are disclaimers, of course, everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Now, Stone Harbor is located in the central region. It's broken up into north, central, and south. So it's kind of tricky without a mouse, but so here we go. So, and I looked this up and I pulled up my street, and I'm telling you, it's pretty much spot on. For my wife and I have gotten pretty good at this. We know what it was going to look like at certain tides, and this is pretty much right on the money. So this is an area of a lot of flooding for us. And we go here to Central, which is us, and it has the breakdowns of the title readings. So it'll tell you, you can click on what would 5.4 reading. So if we have and these are mean low water, so if we have a flooding where we're gonna get 5.4, which is pretty typical for us here just on any given full moon, you click it and it shows you this would be your inundation. And again, anybody who's ever made that U-turn and come down Sunset to avoid traffic, anytime there's any flooding event, you know this is pretty much spot on during any full moon without any onshore flow. So we'll go to moderate flooding, 6.9 feet, and again, you can see now it's starting to really reach out. And if you look, it is all of our typical areas where we have problems. Of course, everything north of 89th Street is inundated. So again, you go to a major event like we had, the no-name nor'easter that we had a couple of weeks ago that kind of caught everybody by surprise a little bit. We were around 7.4 feet for that, and you can see again, here's the inundation that you would be looking at. So it's really useful for our folks, especially our tourists and visitors who do rent in areas down along the bay here, because again, most people believe that our flooding comes from the ocean. That's what they see on TV during hurricanes and things of that nature, and they don't realize that all of our flooding for the most part here comes from the back bays. So again, this will just be able to provide residents, anybody really, business owners, anybody that's in these areas that are affected, it'll just kind of give them an idea when they say, okay, they're predicting 7.4 feet above mean low water, they can come here and click and go, oh geez, well I probably don't want to park my car in this area. So, and again, if you get up into the major areas, this is Sandy was around 9.4 feet, you can see. Again, and this is, we did see flooding, absolutely made it up onto 2nd Avenue. I know, I lived in 90th Street during that storm, and it was completely up to 2nd Avenue. So this was what the inundation looked like during Sandy. Now, it does show inundation levels above ground level, so it'll give you an idea of how much water is going to be in those areas. And you can see once you start to get to this lighter blue area, you're talking 4 feet. I can't remember the last time we saw 4 feet anywhere down around 92nd, 93rd. That area on Sunset during Sandy was probably around 3 feet of inundation. So again, you can see the lighter blues here. We are starting to get close to that. Usually this is around 2-3 feet during this time. So it's great. The who will be affected is basically the same thing, but what it does is it places schools, hospitals, you think, again, more disclaimers. It just places all the schools and things of that nature on here. So fortunately for us, our school will see flooding. We do know we had some flooding during Sandy, but it is good for if they want to decide whether they need to close the school early. Per se, they could look at it and go get an idea of what the inundation is going to look like, because we do know that the area by the school does flood. So it's a great tool. It will help us with our community rating. We get upwards of 50 points for simply providing access to the public to this website that was completely funded by the county. So it is a great thing. Very excited to have it. I know it's going to really, really help us out in making our flood predictions. And again, this titled Flooding Dashboard is great because it gives me pretty much all the information that I need right there at my fingertips when we are keeping an eye on things. And it is based off of NOAA's flood gauges as far as the predicting goes and stuff like that. So it's a great tool, and the counties, they're very proud of it. And we will be providing links to it on our StoneHarborEmergency.com, as well as our social medias. We will be getting a push out there just to make people aware of it. And we'll, again, also working with the realtors, because it's no good if nobody goes to it. So that's the real biggie. I do wish it was a little bit easier to navigate, possibly have its own web address, but this is what we're working with for now, and I think that will probably be addressed a little bit in the future, just making it easier to navigate to.
Yeah, and we can actually, on our site, we can link it so that it goes right into the meat of that, so people don't have to search for it, which will be a little better.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So again, this is the home page for it, and it does explain everything, and it's very easy. It's pretty simple stuff, so.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And that mapping was the topic of discussion at the monthly Cape May County Conference of Mayors meeting on Friday that Jill and I attended. So we had a little heads up on that. It's a great tool. It's going to be a great tool for everybody, for residents, for government, for everybody. So that's good. Anything else for any of those? Natural resources, public safety, recreation and tourism? Anything more? So what we're going to do then is take this opportunity to go into closed session. And then if we do resolve all the issues we need to resolve, then there'll be no need to go into closed session at the regular meeting. So at this time, we're about to consider a resolution to go into private session. We'd appreciate if you would all remain seated until the resolution has been acted upon. At the conclusion of the private session, we will come back into public session for the purpose of either taking action as a result of our discussion in private session or to simply adjourn. It is also possible that someone might bring up some other item of business in public session after we come back from private session. Resolution 2018 S-217.
Madam Mayor, I offer Resolution 2018 S-217 for adoption. This will take us into doing a smuggler's update, the church contract draft, employee salaries, and any other business that might come up.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yes.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Mrs. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mayor, before you go in, I just want to, I would just advise that the elevator is temporarily out again. They are working on it. It's been going out off and on all day today because they've been putting the fire alarm system in the police department. So if anyone's up here, be patient. You won't be trapped up here, but it's temporarily. So they're going to reset it again.
Okay, thank you.